Are our days the end days? Part 2. Matthew chapter 16, KJV, verse 1. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. Verse 2. He answered and said unto them, When it is evening, ye say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. Verse 3. And in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red, a lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but can ye not discern the signs of the times? Verse 4. A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And he left them and departed. Is our generation a generation of Matthew chapter 16, verse 1 to 4, as that generation of the time of Jesus' preachings? And would it be Matthew chapter 24 final generation that would witness the second coming of Jesus Christ with the rapture of his church and the end of the world? Most church leaders agree that ours is that generation of Matthew chapter 24, and I too believe that it is. But what most church leaders would not agree is that this generation's church leaders and their followings, in the understanding of Bible end-time prophecy, is behaving as a Matthew chapter 16 verse 1 to 4 generation. In other words, it is not understanding Bible end-time prophecy because the method it uses to reveal it, through the witnessing of some extraordinary sign from the sky or of the earth, interpreting it as a supernatural event and sign of the end times, is not how to reveal Bible end-time prophecy, or because of some historical event having come to pass, confuses this event with the fulfillment of some end-time prophecy. For example, in Catholicism, there is this thing about Marian apparitions, where some supposed to be Mary, Mother of Jesus Christ, appears every now and then to someone, revealing secrets and mysteries of the end times. In Reformism, there is this other thing about Jesus appearing in dreams, and with he revealing the end times and the rapture. Or in the case of some historical events such as the birth of the nation of Israel in 1948, that were to fulfill some Bible prophecy and begin Matthew chapter 24, ours and final generation. Revealing Bible end-time prophecy, mistaking some atmospherical manifestation of the skies, interpreting it as a sign, as signs of the end times, or from some historical event, is not how to understand Bible end-time prophecy. Matthew chapter 16, from verse 1 to 4, is basically this habit that much of the church has in revealing Bible end-time prophecy through signs having been witnessed, or interpreting historical events as signs of the end times, will not give you a clear picture of what instead is actually presenting itself. The approach that many preachers and theologians have in interpreting Matthew chapter 24 final generation as that of being ours is strictly on the events described in that chapter, and interpreting those events with that of our generation, because of the similarities of what we see written and actual events having occurred in our generation, or in other words, the seeking out of something important having occurred or about to occur, and then seeking Bible end-time prophecy, anything which would resemble to what occurred, interpreted as a Bible prophecy. This is not how to understand Bible end-time prophecy. To understand Bible prophecy is that of understanding the times present, and especially how the church is presenting itself in that generation. For example, if major problems would arise in his teachings, the response from church followers, If changes were to come in his teachings, new teachings that are questionable, but nevertheless taught, divisions among priests or pastors, the rise of cults, the presence of false prophets and false Christs, and their increase year by year, apostasy, and a general falling away from faith. This is what it means to discern the signs of the times. In fact, as we read in Matthew chapter 16, verses 2 to 3, verse 2, he answered and said unto them, When it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. Verse 3, And in the morning it will be foul weather. Today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but ye cannot discern the signs of the times. Jesus responds to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, telling them that though how good they will appear in predicting the weather for that evening or day later, at the same time they are unable to discern their present time, in what spiritual condition they present themselves to the Lord, both they and their generation. The same goes with the interpreting Matthew chapter 24, along with Bible end-time prophecy. Seeking events foretold in that chapter with events occurring or having occurred, and at the same time being incapable of discerning the generation where these things with these events are occurring and why they are occurring. In other words, changings are all around, even noticeable changes and transformation of the church in some cases even unrecognizable. And instead of taking some form of action to prevent further damage, one seeks signs from up above for some divine intervention, to have God to reveal by supernatural means what is obvious in their eyes to see, but for some reason they are avoiding to see. Matthew chapter 24, along with most of Bible end-time prophecy, is made of tragedies, deaths, and catastrophes of both the mind, body, and soul. But what we read in Matthew chapter 24 in terms of disasters from multiple causes, the church has suffered all these disasters in practically every generation, with the difference that in Matthew chapter 24 they all appear much increased. But are the wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, pestilences, famines, earthquakes, and an abomination of the desolation by which there has been at least one already in 70 AD, what makes Matthew chapter 24 what it is? Are these the reasons why there will be the second coming of Jesus Christ, as most of church leaders teach, or is there another reason that will have the second coming, something that would place Matthew chapter 24, a generation so apart from any other in terms of evil, that would cause the second coming of Jesus Christ to rapture his saints into safety in heaven before putting an end to that evil by ending the world? If one were to understand the overall message of Matthew chapter 24, one would understand that the generation by which Jesus speaks of is a unique generation, all of its own. And what makes it so unique among every other generation since the church began is the abundance of liars and deceivers and deceived, false Christs and false prophets, that we see repeatedly written in that chapter, as to make Matthew chapter 24 a generation of liars and deceivers on a scale unseen in church history. A church that, though present, is decaying into unrighteousness and sin and incapable of restraining evil or even housing it, giving it residence within its sacred walls. Reason for why that generation and church, as written, appears to be in so much trouble. Is this the discerning of the signs of the times that Jesus was speaking of in Matthew chapter 16 in verses 1 to 4 is this present day generation as that of Jesus' generation, with Jesus Christ not being recognized as their Messiah because the signs that the Pharisees and Sadducees were seeing and interpreting was giving them a false message on the person of Jesus, or simply not recognizing or unwillingly not recognizing Jesus Christ because of their unrighteousness, taught and followed, but exposed by Jesus. Is it that in Matthew chapter 24, most of what would appear as church is instead not only giving evil residence within its sacred walls, tolerating it when it should not, and even inviting it in because of some distortions of Bible teachings and understandings? This is what I believe and reason for the second coming of Jesus Christ. Thank you.